Gilgaboo, Gilgaboo, Gilgaboo.
As fast am I, Gilgaboo the Jarrow, Falch Eru, gus Gullas Gaccan. Welcome to Gullas Gaccan.
Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Well, be chirm as browle shell and greenach diachach na kieten, be gie fes as kechliach on as hig finnerach farerish, temperele smoo 9 Celsius jeg. To go on the jig frasnig yes and e, as esh be bodgelach merach lesh go on the jig frasnig ye na kieten. Be gie near hui na tui fes na menach on as an temperele smoo 9 Celsius jeg rishtach. Fine and dry, although rather cloudy, leading to the sunshine becoming hazy at times. Light and variable winds as sea breezes develop, maximum temperature 19 degrees Celsius. A risk of the odd shower overnight, and then tomorrow often cloudy with the ongoing threat of a few showers at times. Light to moderate north or northwest wind, and temperatures again around 19 degrees Celsius. The outlook, sunny on Tuesday with light winds and becoming very warm as afternoon temperatures rise to 20 degrees Celsius, remaining dry and settled for the rest of the week as high pressure dominates. And riet be gemert grianach leis gia fes as higadavé fi vlas an asta leis an temperelas girigas feed Celsius. As be an emsha chirm as sight cara chact and a man leis an vrú genu kionus an emsha. So remaining dry and settled for the rest of the week as high pressure dominates. Sunrise 5:21 a.m. tomorrow. Iri na grania unvinnadas feed lug queg merach as lai na grania hogmanad lug nai dew. Sunset 8 minutes past 9 today.
Manx Glass and Glazing don't just do the big jobs. It's easy to repair broken greenhouse glass at Manx Glass and Glazing. For greenhouse glass cut to size, call 674 573. Gullas Gaccan, brought to you by the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee.
Forget you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, forget you and forget her too. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. Ain't that some shit? And although there's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. From the forget you. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't afford a Ferrari. Don't mean I can't get you there. I guess he's an Xbox and I'm more Atari. But the way you play your game ain't fair. I picture the fool that falls in love with you. Oh, she's a gold digger. Well, just don't you know. Ooh, I've got some news for you. Yeah, go on and tell your little boy free. See you driving round town with the girl I love, and I'm like, forget you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, forget you and forget her too. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. Oh, ain't that some shit? And although there's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. If I forget you. Now I know that I had to borrow, begging, stealing, lie, cheat, trying to keep you, trying to please you. Just being in love with your ass ain't cheap. Now I picture the fool that falls in love with you. Oh, she's a gold digger. Well, just don't you know. Ooh, I've got some news for you. Ooh, I really hate your ass right now. See you driving round town with the girl I love, and I'm like, forget you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, forget you and forget her too. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. Oh, ain't that some shit? And although that's told me this is one for your dad. Yes, she did. And I was like, why? Why, baby? I love you. I still love you. I see you driving round town with a girl I love. Forget you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, forget you and forget her too. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. But wait, that's some shit. And although that's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. Forget you.
Well, there we go. I wouldn't forget those fellas. It's CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green, yes. American singer, songwriter, rapper, record producer and actor. Of all those things. My goodness, and only 50. And that was Forget You. Well, one thing I didn't forget this week was to go to a kind of a, what would you call it, a reception that was organised by the Tréist Éireacht Rushen Heritage Trust. And this was a reception in honour of the McCombe family. Leonard McCombe, as we'll discover as the programme unfolds, was a photographer, and he started taking photographs during the Second World War. And there's a wonderful exhibition at the House of Manannan, which we'll hear a bit more about as the programme unfolds. But yes, I went down to the Rushen Heritage Trust, the Tréist Éireacht Rushen, last Thursday, and this is a little bit of the speech that Clark McCombe gave at the reception. I've got a longer interview with Clark and his wife and sister. Is it sister? Oh no, it's his father's sister's daughter. That's right. So his cousin. There we go. I knew I'd get there in the end. So yes, let's listen then to the McCombe reception opening speech from Clark McCombe.
As Manx as the barley in Bushy's beer. Manx Radio.
The way it's been, because without Beverly, really this, I don't think this would have happened. Beverly I met in Heidelberg some 40 years ago, but it wasn't until 2 years ago that I finally figured things out, and then we got married. And
A little slow on the
it's a
outside.
little-
Thank Jimmy for that.
And Jimmy from Heidelberg is here, and the Heidelberg Alumni Association, because without Jimmy and putting everything together, then I wouldn't have connected back with Beverly. And so there are many stories, and we could go on all evening, but back to my father. I am a lucky guy for having him as a father. It's one of these things that I'm going to become teary-eyed, because I was at the Rushen primary school earlier, and realizing that he had been here. We saw the register where he was signed in 1928. And this is where he played. This is the meadows that he saw, the water out there, but all of that. And then growing up with him, he was daddy, and you don't listen to your father all the time. And once in a while he'd have a story about rowing the boat across in the front here in the promenade, in the bay or the inlet there. And when we had the farm, there's so much to talk about, but we have a farm on the east end of Long Island. And often he would describe the smell after a storm. It smelled like Port Erin, the water, the sea, the seaweed, the way that was a remembrance of Port Erin. And then coming back here also seeing the sheep. I mean, when I was growing up, we had sheep on the farm. Now, who got the idea for that? And blackberries, blackberry pie, blackberry apple pie, which we make on our farm in the bakery that we have there now. And that was Daddy that said, we got to make blackberry apple pie. And the fishing, and one of the early stories he had was about going out on the fishing boat here. But back to how all of this came together, it was about 2010. Beverly coming to the farm and being a friend, she's a doctor, helping out with my grandmother, who lived to almost 104, and taking care of her and realizing all of these pictures that were upstairs in the house, just sitting there. And I think it was Pamela said when she visited the farm, my father didn't want to talk about the pictures or anything. He was more excited about what was going on the farm, and more excited especially about the peaches that were getting ripe. So the pictures as growing up were, stuck away, and at times he would say, well, I've got to sort it out, or you're going to have to do something with this someday. But Beverly recognized that we had to get started with figuring out what was there. So she suggested to me to record my father talking about some of these things. Difficult to get him to talk about it. He said that, this is old stuff, who wants to hear about it? But, getting him to sit down and look at things, and then finally he would open up. And he would say, well, this would be good for an exhibition, or if you did a movie, you could put these 3 or 4 pictures together and do something with it. Or if you did a book, there's a good story here and there. And anyway, that was the start of the organization. And then along the way comes Maxine.
And it wasn't Maxine crashing into a load of bottles there. This is, of course, Maxine Cannon from Isle of Man Post. And we'll hear a couple of interviews that I did with Maxine. Well, it's 2 halves of an interview I did. Now, another thing that happened in Port Erin, when was that now? Friday evening, was this. Now, have a listen to this. Is there any ornithologists out there? Because I'm fascinated to know what this bird might be. It sounded to me quite a little bit like what I remember a corncrake sounding like. And I do remember the corncrake because I was on the island of Iona with the band Skeel many years ago now. And we were there just at the right time for the corncrakes. But I don't know, was it a corncrake? It's unusual, certainly if it was. We don't normally get them on the island, but have a listen. If any ornithologists, have a listen to this and tell me, put me right. So there we are. I'm not at all convinced that that is a corncrake, but it might be. And if it is, that would be quite something, quite a special moment for the island to have a corncrake. But have a listen. I'll play it again later in the programme. And if you are an ornithologist and know your birds, let me know. I should also say that was recorded on my iPhone without a microphone, so. And the bird was some distance away, so not the clearest of recordings. The other exciting thing we saw was a couple of dolphins leaping in and out of the water, which was quite special on Friday evening. So yes, it was something of a wildlife adventure in Port Erin, and that was just the sea creatures and the birds. The young fellas were having a bit of fun too. Anyway, time for some music. What's this now? Andy Bell and Debbie Harry, Heart's a Liar.
thought we were complete.
You were complicit.
Took me from the street.
Blink and you miss it. Try looking into the mirror. Saw the sight staring back at you. You're not a victim. Wounds are self-inflicted. You're such a sorry state.
You said I'd always be in your heart. Your heart's a liar, liar, liar. Why wish upon a shooting star now that you're gone? You said we were forever. Your heart's a liar, liar, liar. How do I pull myself together now that you're gone?
It was bittersweet.
So tricky to meet.
Stars were not aligned.
We felt to combine.
We felt you combine. Falling in a vicious cycle. Turning around in a spiral. Now we are falling faster. Chasing after neither what we deserve.
You said I'd always be in your heart. Your heart's a liar, liar, liar. Why wish upon a shooting star now that you're gone?
And I try to remember.
Try to remember.
To remember to forget about you. It's the same old story.
Same old story.
Oh, what am I gonna do? 'Cause I'm so broken.
I'm so broken.
And you're so beautiful. But your love is cruel.
Said I'd always be in your heart. Your heart's a liar, liar, liar. Why wish upon a shooting star now that you're gone? You said we were forever. Your heart's a liar, liar, liar. How do I pull myself together now that you're gone?
Love is cruel.
When the time grew near for me to show my love, longer I stayed away from, hiding from a word I need to hear now. Don't think I'll hear it again. But the nights were always warm with you, holding you right by my side. But the morning always comes too soon. Before I even close my eyes, yeah. All I do each night is pray. Oh, Lord. Hoping that I'll be a part of you again someday. Oh, yeah. All I do each night is think. Oh, yeah. Of all the times I close the door to keep my love within. If you can't forgive the past, I understand that. Can't understand why I did this to you. And all of the days and the nights, so I regret it. I never showed you my love. But the nights were always warm with you, do each night is think of all the times I close the door to keep my love within. Come on, time is running out. You and me, harmony. You and me,
And there we go, that's Take That with Pray. And yes, well, there we go. So, as you were hearing, I was at the Leonard McCombe reception down at the Rushen Heritage Trust, and Clark McCombe, Leonard's son, had just introduced Maxine Cannon from the post office. So once we've got a few jingles out of the way, we'll hear from Maxine.
Guller's Gaccan, brought to you by the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee.
As Manx says, the Mannin line, Manx Radio.
Welcome to Maxine Cannon from Isle of Man Post, and you are certainly getting much of the credit for persevering to get this Leonard McCombe, obviously the stamp issue complete, but also building the contact between the Isle of Man and the McCombe family.
Well, first of all, the real credit, because I'm always believe in who sowed the first seed, should go to my much highly valued colleague Paul Ford, who, along with the late Chris Killip, who was a professor at Manxman, who was a professor at Harvard University, brought this to our attention, and way back in 2005, 2006. So we've been in it for the long game, but we always knew we had the power to deliver. And it's our pleasure today that it's all come to fruition, and the story of through the lens of Leonard McCombe has been unveiled today and shared with so many it's and at a place that's his home was Port Erin. He was always the boy from Port Erin. As Clark, his son, explained today, Port Erin is hugely important to him. The family still have a home here. There are cousins here that Clark had never met, which have all come together. And I'm a great believer that as an island, if we all work together and all chip in, and it's not always about money, then we can achieve anything. And it's a personal privilege to be able to spread the news about Leonard McCombe, his huge archive, which I would say 75% of it hasn't even been touched at the moment, because as well as his war career, he went on, he stayed in Germany after the war to record the plight of the Polish people. He then was picked up by Life magazine at the age of, I think, 18 or 19, whisked off to New York and put up in a swanky apartment. So, I mean, can you imagine this? It was all unbelievable, really, but the talent was so intense at such a young age. He was the youngest fellow of the Royal Photographic Society at only 19. And then in America, because until 1952, he was a freelancer. He wasn't tied to no contracts. He could go off and do his own assignments. And one of the things that he did do, he spent 6 months with the Navajo Indians recording their everyday life, which we have the pleasure of portraying as part of our stamp issue. He took the last photograph of Neil Armstrong before he boarded the lunar capsule to go to the moon. He was with President L.B. Johnson at the time that President Kennedy was assassinated. And the list just goes on. There are items signed by Louis Armstrong with love to Leonard. And
Manx Radio.
And actually, that was, it wasn't me pressing the wrong button or anything. The interview did come to a bit of an abrupt, well, I was trying to find a gap in the middle, so it was a little abrupt there. But we will start up the second part of that interview fairly shortly. Time for one of these. And it is obviously time for our Manx track, but before that, a quick look at the weather. Be a chirmers, browler, shell and greenach, jechach na kieten, to go on the jig frasna gas, and he as esh be a bodgelach merrick, let's go on the jig frasna gas na kieten rischach, be a Jammer be a greenach, le greenach, let's gia fes. As be an impsha chirma site cara chachtan. So fine and dry, although rather cloudy, leading to the sunshine to become, or leading to sunshine to become hazy at times. Risk of an odd shower overnight, and then tomorrow often cloudy with the ongoing threat of a few showers at times, and sunny on Tuesday with light winds, remaining dry and settled for the rest of the week, which is probably good news unless you happen to want a bit of rain on the garden.
Gullas Gaccan, brought to you by the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee.
Bit of Barule now with the Kingdom of the Sea, Rina Mara.
Up with the log and lay to run before the wind and tide. The gun sponge, the gulls can watch the head and shoulders wide. Country head and the other point will soon be left behind. Of fleshy base and west by west, our petty friends will find. The heaven boys, the heaven, oh, the heaven boys for me. Red up, dip, fresh up, pickle dough. Heaven's the king of the sea. The heaven boys, the heaven, oh, the heaven boys for me. Red up, dip, fresh up, pickle dough. Heaven's the king of the sea. Struck his flag so down with the nets and prey. The fisher's friend to bless our homes and toil by night and day. Over the clock night and day, the sun's bright signal shines. It's time to haul our glittering chain, ship our loaded lines. The heaven boys, the heaven low, the heaven boys for me. Red up, clip it fresh up, pickle dough. The heaven's the king of the sea. The heaven boys, the heaven low, the heaven boys for me. Red up, clip it fresh up, pickle dough. Heaven's the king of the sea. Oh, the heaven boys, heaven, oh, the heaven boys for me. Red up to put fresh up, pickle dough. The heaven's the king of the sea. Oh, the heaven boys, heaven, oh, the heaven boys for me. Red up to put fresh up, pickle dough. The heaven's the king of the sea. To run before the wind and tide. The gannets plunge, the gulls keep watch ahead and shoulders wide. Country head and Yarbough Point will soon be left behind. Off Fleshig Bay, southwest by west, our merry friends will find. Admiral report the struck his flag, so down with the nets and prayed. The fisher's friend, bless our homes and toil by night and day. Over the clock night and day, the sun's bright signal shines. It's time to haul our glittering train and ship our loaded lines. The heaven boys, heaven, oh, the heaven boys for me. Red up, dip, and fresh up, pickle dough. The heaven's the king of the sea. Oh, the heaven boys, the heaven, oh, the heaven boys for me. Red up, dip, and fresh up, pickle dough. The heaven's the king of the sea. Oh, the heaven boys, heaven, oh, the heaven boys for me. Red up, dip, and fresh up, pickle dough. The heaven's the king of the sea.
that was Brule with The Kingdom of the Sea, Rina Mara. Rina Mara is King of the Sea, but yes, there we go. And next we have, Mika with Grace Kelly, and then the second part of the interview with Maxine Cannon.
I want to talk to you.
The last time we talked, Mr. Smith, you reduced me to tears. I promise you it won't happen again.
Do I attract you? Do I repulse you with my queasy smile? Am I too dirty? Am I too flirty? Do I like what you like? I could be wholesome, I could be loathsome, guess I'm a little bit shy. Why don't you like me? Why don't you like me without making me try? I try to be like Grace Kelly, but all her looks were too sad. So I tried a little Freddie. I've got an entity mind. I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet sky, I could be red, I could be black, I could be anything you like. Gotta be green, gotta be mean, gotta be everything more. Why don't you like me? Why don't you like me? Why don't you walk out the door?
Getting angry doesn't solve anything.
How can I help it? How can I help it? How can I help what you think? Hello, my baby, putting my life on the brink. Why don't you like me? Why don't you like me? Why don't you like yourself? Should I bet over? Should I have told her just to be put on your shelf? I try to be like Grace Kelly, but all her looks were too sad. So I tried a little Freddie. I've got an entity mind.
He left the island in his sort of late teens, didn't he? And
Yes.
before he left, he also captured lots of images of the Isle of Man.
Well, his mentor was William Hoggart, because Leonard actually wanted to be an artist, and art was just not going to be his bag. And he was sitting in a dentist in Port Erin, and saw a copy of Life magazine and thought, I want that. But his connection to the Russian women's internment camp, he was commissioned to do shots of all the people that were in the Russian internment camp. But also, at the time, he captured their everyday life. So this became a bit of a propaganda assignment to show that, while these internment camps were here, it was about being able to flourish at the same time. So there's a photograph of the children on the beach doing their PT exercises outside the bay, and all of this. And one of the things that was very moving for us to hear was that Leonard palled up with one of the internees and they became lifelong friends. So he went off, they both ended up in the States, and throughout their life, this guy's on the stamp, they remained firm friends. So that was, it's all about the positivity. But Leonard's main message was that the reason he ended up in America was because at the time in Britain, photography was a bit of a snobbish thing. You had to have to be a certain place in society, and that never rocked Leonard's boat. And to him, it was always what was at the end of the lens that was important. It wasn't about his skill or anything else. It was about the subject of the photograph and having the respect that the, because most of these were impromptu. They were just, they weren't, they're all not posed. He had an eye for seeing something that needed to be recorded, and that's what he did. And it was very spontaneous, and most of the occasions you can see the spontaneity of what he saw and clicking the camera to capture that moment.
And as far as the stamps go then, what is there any particular stamp that we're most likely to see on any letters that come through to us, or are these just a kind of collector's item?
No, the stamps are all postally valid. We've also today issued our VE Day earlier in April we issued our VE commemoration. So there's 90p's there, there's pounds there. You can buy them through our postal shop online, so they're. I want the message of Leonard McCombe to be a global message, that from his roots in Port Erin through to when he kind of put his cameras away in 1972, that this is something that we should be extremely proud of, amongst so many other people, such as Chris Killip, who, again, photography, and all those other people that have left our shores, but have never forgotten their home.
And that was a rather beautiful, I think, piece of music by Mora Bretnach, or Mary Cretney, if you wanted the Manx version, the Manx English version anyway. Mora Bretnach with Gialach na Conliach. Now, I was wondering about this Conliach, and I was looking it up, and there's a couple of variants here, depending on which Irish translation service you use. Gialach na Conliach could be the black or possibly blackberry moon, maybe harvest moon, I don't know, or the candle moon. But either one didn't feel convincing to me. So Gialach is definitely a moon anyway. But whether it's a black one or a candle one or a blackberry one, yes, not so sure. Anyway, Kirsty Neat next. Kirsty from Manx National Heritage.
I'm Kirsty Neat, and I'm Head of Collections at Manx National Heritage.
And in relation to this, again, I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here. Is it an exhibition? What are they doing?
So we have the exhibition through the lens of Leonard McCombe, which is at the House of Manannan. But at the same time, IoM Post have also issued a special stamp issue, which shows images from Leonard McCombe's archive.
Just standing in the way of the wind. And Rushen Heritage Trust's involvement.
Yeah, so Leonard McCombe was born in Port Erin. So Maxine, IoM Post, was in touch with Rushen Heritage Trust, and obviously they're very proud to have Leonard McCombe as one of their own. So they've hosted the launch of the stamps today, and yeah, that's the connection with Leonard, basically.
And the exhibition, tell us a bit more about that. That's at the House of Manannan.
Yeah, so at the museum we were aware of a photographer called Leonard McCombe for quite a long time, and actually in our archives we found some really early pictures that he'd taken up at Killabrega when he'd gone out with Basil McGaw and William Hoggart. Now imagine, he was a teenage boy who'd suddenly got this interest in photography, and somehow I think Hoggart, being another Port Erin resident, had taken him under his wing creatively and then introduced him to the director of the museum, and he sort of did these little assignments, and he'd gone up to Killabrega. So we had these amazing photographs, and even at that age you could see the skill of his ability to capture the scenes up at Killabrega. And so we had these pictures, but we also became aware, somebody wrote to me a long time ago, and I can't remember the name of the person now, but it was somebody who was saying, oh, do you know about Leonard McCombe? And he was basically went on and had this incredible career in America, working for Life magazine, and he did what at the time were called photo stories. So he embedded with the Navajo Indians, and he did these amazing photographic stories, and then he did a photographic story about cowboys, and from that the Marlborough Man was developed, and it was all from this man who was born in Port Erin, and we were absolutely intrigued. And I actually did try all those years ago to get in touch with the family to see if they would be interested in an exhibition, and Leonard was still alive then, but the message came back no, and he basically he just didn't feel able or worthy. And so we just left it for that moment. But Maxine at the post office picked up the story, and if anybody knows Maxine, then you know how tenacious she is. And she carried on making that contact with the family, and by that time they had become more aware of the images that were all hidden and stored in the attic at their family home in Long Island. And they started to become quite intrigued by what their father had done during the war. And I sort of equate him a little bit with Lee Miller. So there was a film that was released last year about Lee Miller, who went out as part of the contingent of war photographers and photographed post-war Europe. And Leonard was part of that. He was part of that group of photographers. I think Richard Dimbleby was another one. He was so young though. He'd taken some photographs of the Russian internment camp, which are actually at the Imperial War Museum in London. We have copies of them at the Manx Museum. And then he went on, got a job with Picture Post, and became this war journalist. And the images that he took, they are incredibly powerful, and the humanity, the struggle, the day-to-day hardships he captures, as well as some of the sort of more public kind of military might of post-war Europe. But they're really moving images. They're really, really powerful. We saw some that the family sent to us digitally, and then we knew there were hundreds more. So it was a little bit of a mad dash, because they're in America, we're in the Isle of Man. But it just so happened they were visiting Ireland back in October, I think it was. So they came to the Isle of Man literally for 48 hours with a whole bunch of negatives, and we scanned at the museum as many as we could in 24 hours. We had a bit of a production line going. We had to search through all these little envelopes and try and find, the sort of most powerful negatives. It was quite a tall order, but one that we were all committed to doing. So, we just really had to get this done in a very short time period. So we were scanning, and then we were able to then make final selections for the exhibition. So what you'd see at the House of Manannan is his post-war work in Europe. It's not his American career, it's not his photojournalism, as I've described from Life magazine. It is his picture post work. So it follows his journey from the streets of Paris through to Berlin and then out to Poland. And some of the Polish images they're so incredible, really moving, really powerful. And I think it was Clark, Leonard's son, who just said about, what does war mean and the impact of war on people's lives, and that's what Leonard manages to capture. And some of them are just beautiful images too. So he had an amazing skill.
And that was Kirsty Neat from Manx National Heritage, and that exhibition is to be found at the House of Manannan. Next, we've got Sunny Afternoon and the Kinks.
Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Sarah.
A Gilg, the Manx Gaelic, Chinian Amera, the mother tongue of Elian Vannin, the Isle of Man. You can catch up with more of Manx Radio's Manx language programmes in the weekly podcast Abershen Rish. Say that again. Shene, that's the one.
Taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon. Save me, save me, save me from this squeeze. I got a big fat mama trying to break me, and I love to live so pleasantly, live this life of luxury, lazing on a sunny afternoon. Summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. My girlfriend's run off with my car and gone back to her ma and pa, telling tales of drunkenness and cruelty. Now I'm sitting here, sipping at my ice cold beer, blazing on a sunny afternoon. Help me, help me, help me sail away. Well, give me 2 good reasons why I ought to stay. 'Cause I love to live so pleasantly, live this life of luxury, lazing on a sunny afternoon. summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. Ah, save me, save me, save me from this squeeze. I got a big fat mama trying to break me, and I love to live so pleasantly. Live this life of luxury, blazing on a sunny afternoon. In the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime.
And now it's time for an Hampshire.
Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Well, be Cheramas Browle Shellen Greenach Gaccan na Keaton, be Gia Fes as Kirkliach on as Heg Finrach Vara Rish. Temperatuur smooth 9 Celsius jig to go on the jig frasnig yes and e as HBA bodgelach meraklish go on the jig frasnig na Keaton Rischach. Be gia nia hui na tui fes na minach as and temperatuur smooth 9 Celsius jig. And rate be Jamert Greenach leis gia fes as hig the ve 5 la sanasta leis in temperatuur giddigas 5 Celsius. Be an Hampshire Chirum as sight Carachach and a man leis an vrú Ginu Kianus an Hampshire. Irina Grania unvinidus feed lug queg merach as line grania hark minid lug nay dew. Fine and dry, although rather cloudy, leading to the sunshine become hazy at times. Light and variable winds as sea breezes develop. Maximum temperature 19 degrees C. Risk of the odd shower overnight and then again tomorrow, often cloudy with the ongoing threat of a few showers at times. Light to moderate north or northwest wind and temperatures again around 19 degrees C. The outlook, sunny on Tuesday with the light winds becoming very warm as afternoon temperatures rise to 20 degrees Celsius. Remaining dry and settled for the rest of the week as high pressure dominates. Sunrise 5:21 a.m. tomorrow and sunset 8 minutes past 9 today.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate. Galla's Gaccan, brought to you by the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee.
I got my first real 6-string, bought it at the 5 and dime, played it till my fingers bled, was the summer of 69, me and some guys from school, had a band and we tried real hard, Jimmy quit, Jody got married, should've known we'd never get far, oh when I look back now,
as Manx as potholes in roads not on the TT course. Manx Radio.
So, we start with yourself.
I'm Clark McCombe. My father, Leonard McCombe, was born here in Port Erin in January of 1923. Grew up here, went to school at the Rushen Primary School and then to Douglas High School. Left school at the age of 16 and became the official photographer for the Russian internment camp for the German women and children back in, it was 1939. And he did that, and also was in London during the bombing and photographed that, and then joined the, he worked briefly for Picture Post and illustrated as freelance, and then joined the British Ministry of Information and became part of the army force that was in the invasion in Normandy in June of 1944, followed the troops across France and into Paris, and then beyond in Germany, and wound up in Berlin at the end of the war, documenting the plight of the refugees in 1945-46.
And your dad, did he ever come back to the island after he'd left?
He was offered a job in 1946 by Life magazine. So he left the island, he left home, went to America, and began a new life, a new career there. He did come back from time to time to check on his mother, and but not very often. Very busy, traveling around the world. I would say many times. One of his stories was the 7 seas, if you can imagine an assignment like that. But he did come back and spoke of the island of Port Erin fondly. And what's interesting is I grew up on a farm on the east end of Long Island, which borders on Long Island Sound. And he said it was very much like home, a kind of a rocky coastline that we have, the smells of the sea, farming combined with fishing. We had sheep on the farm, and I come here and I see these meadows up on the hillside with the sheep. I think we have to get another flock of sheep. My wife Beverly here is looking at me like, what are you doing? But it would be fun. It would be great.
And Beverly, you've been introduced earlier as the person who knows how to catalogue and list things, and of course Leonard's collection was very much in need of that.
Desperately. I'm a physician and a little bit of a scientist and researcher, and so after I encouraged Clark to get an oral history of these photos while his father was alive. I'm a cancer surgeon, and I know people die, and why lose all of this valuable first-hand information? And so fortunately, Clark listened to me, which was lovely. And then after he died, and when the request for an exhibition happened in 2019, in advance of the 75th anniversary of the war, we were faced with the challenge of opening up all of these boxes of prints and figuring out what to do with them. And so, because I have a little bit of a scientific background, it became important for me to cross-reference the photos, not only with the oral history, but with the publications in Life and Picture Post. And so that began a fairly arduous process of identifying which pictures went with which text in order to create a catalog, which we did. And it was basically a massive spreadsheet that we shared with Heidelberg University, and it gave them a foundation which they've built upon. And so it's a living document, and hopefully we'll add other stories. We've done, he did a famous story of the American cowboy, and I did something similar for that. And then he spent 3 months with the Navajo Indians as sort of the West was beginning to encroach on their culture. And we've done a small exhibition on all of that. So little by little, I'm hoping that we can create a kind of complete, oral and written history of his works for the future.
And that was Beverly McCombe, Clark McCombe's wife, Clark being the son of Leonard McCombe. And the exhibition is on at the House of Manannan, a fantastic exhibition. I'm sure I'm certainly haven't had a chance to have a look at it, but as it's been described to me, and as you heard Kirsty Neat there from Manx National Heritage mention, it's going to be, well, it is quite something. Time for a piece of music now, and this is Aerosmith. Are these the people that make arrows? I don't know. They put the bubbles in, perhaps. Or maybe not. This is Jaded by Aerosmith.
Jaded you.
And next we have a bit of world music, and this is Cornelius Vreeswijk. And Cornelius was a Dutch singer, songwriter and poet who lived and worked primarily in Sweden. And I got this piece of music when I was co-hosting Kjola's Kush, which is the Manx language music programme, which is broadcast on Manx Radio at 5 o'clock on medium wave, I think it is, every Friday. And Owen Williams was co-hosting with me, and he brought this piece of music along. So let's have a listen to that, and then we'll hear the second part of Clark McCombe, the interview.
Galas Gaccan, brought to you by the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee.
Somliga går med trasiga skor. Säg vad beror det på? Gudfader som i himmelen bor kanske vill ha det så. Gudfader som i himmelen bor blundar och sover sött. Vem bryr sig om ett par trasiga skor när man är gammal och trött? Vem bryr sig om hur dagarna går? De vandrar som de vill. Medborgare om 100 år finns du ej längre till. Har någon annan tagit din stol? Det vet du inte av. Du känner varken regn eller sol ner i din mörka grav. Vem bryr sig om hur nätterna far? Jag bryr mig inte ett spår. Bara jag får ha mitt ansikte kvar dold i min älsklingshår. Jag är en tvivelaktig figur, duger ej mycket till. Bakom ett hörn står döden på lur. Han tar mig när han vill. Somliga går med trasiga skor tills de har slutat gå. Djävulen som i helvetet bor får sig ett gott skratt då.
Just add quickly, it's ongoing because like cousin Julia is here and we're finding out, we're learning this afternoon, learning the names of people in some of these pictures that we had that we couldn't identify before, but relatives, cousins that are here are pointing out, well, that's so-and-so, and this, do you know who the cobbler is? Well, that's your grandfather. No, that's your great-grandfather. So it's been a lot of fun and an amazing education, both, you know, historically on this worldwide level of, you know, the VE Day today, the end of World War II, but locally and emotionally, you know, coming back here to home, to roots. And Julia is here and talk about more family things.
And Julia, did you know Leonard?
I did meet him, but not very often. But I heard a lot of stories about him because my mother is his sister, his younger sister. So I heard stories about when they were young and about how when he was learning photography, he'd go out with an empty camera and shoot, you know, take snaps, I suppose, to practice. You know, you'd have to alter all the dials and look at the light and decide what focal length you want and so on, and that was interesting to me.
And I suppose for anyone under 40, they probably won't realise that you know, you used to have to put film in camera and that cost money.
Do you know, I've got one here, a Nikon.
Clark, you did the interview with your father. You were describing his his Manx reticence, perhaps that's the word, or his Manxness
That's
earlier.
a good way to put it, a kind way to put it. But he was described as difficult and gentle. That was in an interview one of the rare interviews that he gave. That was in the late 70s or 1980 thereabout. But he wanted to put all of that behind him. As he said in that interview, that having the farm was like coming home. It was like being back on the Isle of Man, back in Port Erin, because he had the sea, he had the farm, he was outside. I think it was Pamela that said, he was more enthusiastic about telling Pamela when she visited, talking about the peach crop and describing ripe peaches and giving her a ripe peach to try, rather than the history, the old pictures up in the attic of the farmhouse. But on the other hand, I think he knew what he had, because when he began to talk and open up, he would say, he would point out pictures that he was particularly proud of, and that he would, I think, eventually want in an exhibition like this, which has been put together by the Manx National Heritage Museum and the Rushen Heritage Trust and Maxine Cannon with the stamps. He would be proud of all of this.
Station, Manx Radio.
Hello, this is Andy Wint. Next on Man in Line is Manxcare's Executive Director of Nursing and Allied Health Professionals. Sheila Lloyd is professional lead for, amongst other things, nursing, midwifery, allied health professionals and biomedical scientists, the patient experience, including complaints, professional education and training, infection prevention and control, and clinical governance. 4 years on from its creation, how's Manxcare standing up? What's your experience? What's your opinion? Talk to Manxcare's Sheila Lloyd this Tuesday at midday on smart devices, on air, online, on Manx Radio.
As Manx as white horses in the bay, Manx Radio.
All I can ever be to you is the darkness that we know, and this regret I got accustomed to. Once was the ride when we were at our height, waiting for you in the hotel at night. I knew I had him at my match, but every moment we get snatched. I don't know why I got so attached. It's my responsibility, and you don't own nothing to me but to walk away. I have no capacity. He walks away, the sun goes down. He takes the day, but I'm grown. And in your way, in this blue shade, my tears dry on their own. I don't understand, why do I stress the man when there's so many bigger things at hand? We could have never had it all. We had to hit a wall. So this is inevitable withdrawal. Even if I stop wanting you, and perspective pushes true, I'll be some next man's other woman. So I can't play myself again. I should just be my own best friend. I put myself in the head with stupid man. He walks away, the sun goes down. He takes the day. The sky, your boat, oh, hey, he walks away, the sun goes down, he takes the day, but I'm wrong, and your way, in this blue shade, my tears dry on their own. I wish I could say no regrets, and no emotion, no day, cause as we kiss goodbye, the sun sets, so we are history. The shadow covers me, the sky above the blaze, lonely lovers see. He walks away, the sun goes down, he takes the day, but I'm grown. And in your way, my blue shade, my tears dry on their own. Whoa, he walks away, the sun goes down, he takes the day, but I am grown. And in your way,
there we go. That was Amy Winehouse. Tears don't dry on their own. And indeed they don't. Well, I don't know if it's time for the weather yet. It might be a bit soon. But, well, before we hear the weather, let's just have another listen to this bird that I was rather interested in. Well, Dave from Ballaugh suggests that it sounds like a stone chatter, he said. Maybe a stone chat, I don't know. Maybe it is. I still rather like it to be a corncrake, but if it isn't, it isn't. Quick update then on the weather. Basically, be a chirrum son could smoo to gow beg on the jig frasnig as esh be an empshire chirrum a sight carachach na man. So yeah, nice and sunny for bits of today, then risk of a shower tomorrow, and then back to the sunshine and dry weather for the rest of the week. And of course that is our cue for a Manx track that's coming up shortly. And indeed, find yourself a partner, because we're going to dance the flitter dance. But whether you'll be able to keep up with these boys, McLear.
Gullas Gaccan, brought to you by the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee.
He stopped taking photographs in the 70s, was it? Or did he never really stop? He just stopped being paid to take photos?
It's a difficult, to be honest, it was very difficult for him to be treated the way he was by a corporate entity, which was Time Incorporated, Life magazine. I don't know, if I should be saying these things, but the staff or the people working for Life were led to believe that this was the magazine that would never end. And they were called into the office for a meeting and said that in 2 weeks they were going to cease publication. And I would say bitter is not exactly the word, but he understood that was the end of it. And he had to move on. He wanted to move on. Television was at one of its peaks, or at its peak at that time. He would say, why would someone pick up a magazine with pictures that are a week old when you can turn on the television and see what happened today, this evening? And of course, that's all been transformed by the digital age. I mean, not only do you don't wait for the evening news, you can pick up your phone and you see what's happening live. I took a picture of him with the first digital camera that I had. I took the picture, plugged it into the computer, showed him the image of my father, of him on the screen, and printed it out. And one of the things he did, he would rub his face, and he'd say, "I don't know. I just don't know anymore." and that was it. So, other than a few family photographs, graduating from high school and college and things like that, he pretty much put the camera down.
But I guess, being a Manxman, or a Manx American as we're calling him, he would have enjoyed farming and fishing.
He enjoyed it tremendously. I mean, that was his thing. What apple varieties should we plant? What was good? We have part of the farm is we have a bakery and we make fruit pies. What are the best varieties of strawberries? We would go out in the field with the men in the morning to pick the berries, and he would say, "Stay away from that variety over there. They're not sweet enough." Or the blackberries, which when Beverly and I came over here, we see the blackberries on the hedgerows. Loved blackberries, and making as I said, blackberry apple pie and blackberry pie. It was yes, he loved farming. That was his new life, new career.
Are you surprised? Well, all of you really. Are you surprised at the level of interest from these fairly worthy organisations like Manx National Heritage, the Rushen Heritage Trust, the IoM Post Office?
I am not surprised, because when you look at the pictures, they draw you in such a way that you can't stop looking at them. And when you look at one, many of them are a series of pictures. It's part of a story. He told a story through the camera, and I think that's like any good story. It'll survive. So to see that today, 80 years after the end of the war, how can I say this? You become part of what you see, and it gets to you. It's an emotional thing. It's not just snaps of wartime. There is a connection there with each picture. So, and if you stop and look at something in the exhibition, I think each picture draws you in a way that you can't really just walk away from it. So I understand the interest, yes.
And that was Clark McCombe talking about his father, Leonard McCombe, and the exhibition is on, I understand, for several months at the House of Manannan. You'll also be able to see some of Leonard McCombe's photographs on the stamps that Maxine Cannon was telling us about earlier, and yes, very, very worthwhile, the whole thing. Next, we have Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd, and then Hugh Davison, co-founder of the Rushen Heritage Trust.
We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. We don't need no education. We don't need no full control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teachers, leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave us kids alone. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? You don't eat your meat. Yes. Can't you behind the gravestone? Can you have any pudding? Stand still, laddie.
Speaking to Hugh Davison, founder of the Rushen Heritage Trust, and co-founder, and in this case, you are a member of the.
I'm now. My wife and I did co-found it, and we worked there a lot of our time for 8 years, and we're doing less, and we're both presidents, I think. Yeah, joint presidents.
And you introduced Clark McCombe. Leonard McCombe is a really fascinating character, isn't he?
Yes, he is absolutely remarkable. And what I found most amazing about him was that even though he's sort of very, very famous as an international photographer, war photographer, he spent, I think he had a working career. He died at 91. He started work here in Port Erin at the age of 16. But he had about a sort of 75-year career. But he spent more than half of that career as a farmer, and he retired as a leading photographer for some of the world's biggest magazines in 1972. And then he bought this farm on Long Island, and he was devoted to farming, and his family was saying, what about all that amazing material you got in the attic there, and all these photographs there, absolutely wonderful. Oh, I'm not interested in those, I'm a farmer now, you know. So I find that a remarkable part of his career, that it was a two-part career, and he made a complete break from the thing that made him famous halfway through, and wasn't particularly interested in going back, and it was only the family now who have, you know, been through all that material and made him much better known and as well known as he deserves to be. And I was delighted to see that in his Wikipedia he's classified as Manx American, even though he's spent a lot more time in America in the Isle of Man, because he left the Isle of Man at the age of 20. Having spent 4 years as the photographer for the internment camp.
And of course, we are here on yet again another glorious sunny day in Port Erin, and that's important for the whole Leonard McCombe story, isn't it?
Oh, well, absolutely. This weather is, I've never known so much sunshine in all the time I've been in the Isle of Man, and off it actually. So long may it last. I just hope that the summer comes.
Leonard is a son of Port Erin, isn't he?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, he was born here, he was brought up here, went to school in the Isle of Man. He left school at 16, and from the age of 16 to 19 or 20, he was a photographer here. And then he went to the UK for 2 or 3 years, and he did some amazing photography in World War II in Europe, France and Germany in particular, at quite a young age. And then at the end of the war, he joined Life magazine, which was the #1 magazine in the world, and up until 1972 did some world-leading photography. So it's wonderful his family has reminded us again of his Manx roots and his Manx nationality. Well, originally anyway.
Well, that was Hugh Davison there. Just time for a couple of pieces of music now. Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty and Lovely Day by Bill Withers.
I know the
Galas Gaccan, brought to you by the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seemed impossible to face, and when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the